Welcome to the Splainer. Today, we're going to unpack the extreme physical and metaphorical journey found in the soft pop ballad Faith in Air. Seriously, if you've ever wondered what happens when deeply poetic songwriting collides head-on with pure adrenaline-pumping extreme sports, well, you're in the exact right place. We're going to deconstruct an incredible story of human endurance and look at how a wildly daring physical feat across a frozen landscape transforms into this profound exploration of courage and the human spirit. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right in by immediately transporting ourselves to this stark, vivid environment far away from the safety of modern civilization. The songwriter doesn't waste a single second getting us out of our comfort zone here. Right from the intro, boom, we're placed on the edge of ice and sky. Just think about that imagery for a second. We're entirely removed from where the highways lie, which really means we're far removed from predictability, from emergency services, and from the mundane routines of our everyday lives. We're literally chasing a dream on frozen glass just to feel alive.
So that brings us to part 1, Journey to the Edge, tracking the adventurer's arc. To really grasp the depth of these lyrics, it helps to track the journey as a deliberate sequence. As you can see, we start by leaving the comfort of the highway, progressing into the intense physical labor of actually raising the line out in the harsh elements, before moving to the ultimate climax of walking the thread, and finally experiencing the transformation of returning home. It's the classic hero's journey, right? Every great adventure follows this exact path of departure, initiation, and return.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how the lyrics immediately establish this massive contrast between the safety of the city and the raw, totally unforgiving reality of the Siberian wilderness. On one hand, you've got city light, representing civilization, noise, and safety. But on the other hand, the song introduces us to the Baikal Blue. This is pure nature, a silence so intense that it's literally described as loud, along with immense physical danger. And our adventurers are willingly trading the former for the latter. Crazy, right?
Moving on to part 2, the frozen stage. Let's look at their arrival at the threshold.
The lyrics paint an intensely tactile picture here. By using phrases like Siberian winds and crystal shroud, they make us truly feel the bitter cold of this frozen, glass-like stage. I mean, you can almost feel the biting wind on your face just reading it. And I absolutely love the oxymoron, the silence loud. It perfectly captures that specific, heavy type of quiet you only ever find in absolute wilderness, where the absence of human noise is so profound it actually rings in your ears. And beneath them, a crystal shroud, hinting at both the breathtaking beauty of the frozen lake and, of course, the deadly stakes of the environment.
So what really grounds this airy, philosophical song is that it is based entirely on the very real, very dangerous, extreme sport of highlining over Lake Baikal. The lyrics talk about raising a line between the peaks, a thread of hope, a test of time, and guys, this isn't some metaphor for a difficult conversation. They are literally suspending a thin piece of webbing high above the frozen world and preparing to walk across it. It's just a stunning blend of engineering, athleticism, and sheer unfiltered willpower.
Okay, part 3, faith, air, and gravity. Time for the mental preparation.
The second verse and pre-chorus actually act as a literal step-by-step breakdown of managing absolute terror. First, you hear those echoing footsteps in the snow, hyper-aware that there is 1,000 years below them in that ancient, deep lake. Second, they step out and immediately feel the ruthless force of gravity. And third comes the critical mental shift. Despite laughing, screaming, and nearly falling, they have to unconditionally trust the line and give it their all. No turning back.
I just love how this grounds the airy, philosophical concept of faith into heavy, terrifying physics. Gravity isn't just some textbook concept here, right? It's a lethal downward pull that they must actively resist with every single muscle twitch. To combat it, they need eyes on fire and nerves like steel. It requires an absolute razor-sharp focus, where a wandering mind can literally mean a plunge into the icy depths.
Which brings us to part 4, walking the void, the absolute climax of the journey. As they step out, notice how the vocabulary shifts entirely upward and outward. They aren't just walking anymore, they're dancing skyward and cutting through. They're suspended amongst frozen winds and northern light, essentially walking a thread between day and night. The contrast here is just gorgeous. They feel so small up here, and yet so grand. The sheer physical act of balancing on this tiny line has caused their souls to stretch wide across the entire land.
Now here we can really clearly see the dual-track nature of the song, especially in the bridge. On one side, we have the brutal physical stakes. One misstep, a breath too deep, the lake would hold our secrets, keep.
Wow. It is a chilling reminder that the beautiful crystal shroud below is just waiting to swallow them whole. But on the other side, we see the emotional reward that makes the risk entirely worth it. By rising up and trying, by holding on to their mountain dreams against the sky, they find our truth with every stride. The danger is literally the crucible that creates their truth.
And against all odds, they survive the void. The final chorus just explodes with triumph. The silence is now roaring, the stars are shining through, and despite the whispered calls of the frozen lake below trying to pull them down, they walk the void and never fall. They are literally walking dreams across the ice, with their hearts burning like fire against the endless night.
And finally, Part 5, Returning Transformed, the final phase of our journey. After surviving the crystal shroud and that roaring silence, the outro of this song brings us crashing right back to the city light. But notice how the travelers are forever changed by their experience. They're back among the noise and the safety of the highways, sure, but internally, they will always carry the memory of that endless height with them. They've been irrevocably altered by what they achieved up there in the sky.
You see, they didn't just conquer a physical chasm. They utilized the frozen grace of Lake Baikal almost like a sacred altar to permanently leave their fear behind. The wilderness served this deeply spiritual purpose. They flew on frozen grace, and in doing so, they shed the everyday anxieties that likely weighed them down back in the city. The void took their fear and gave them their truth in exchange. How beautiful is that?
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to think about your own life through the lens of this journey. Look, we might not all be highlining over a frozen Siberian lake anytime soon, but we all face voids that require faith and air to cross. So what is your metaphorical thin line? What is the terrifying crossing you need to make to stretch your soul wide? And most importantly, when you finally make it across and return to the city lights, what fear will you have left behind in that sacred place? Thank you so much for exploring this incredible journey with me. Keep walking your dreams, and I'll catch you next time.